Hi, I'm Coach Hallis. Welcome to week 9 of the Keeping It Real vlog. This week, my students continue working on their second drafts of their paper and some finish their first drafts of their paper. I thought I'd talk a little bit about project design as we move forward. So we're in the final few weeks of this quarter and finishing up this project very soon. So it's time to start thinking about the process for putting together the upcoming projects. And the one that I'm going to be doing during the second quarter is called the $10 challenge that I've talked about in this vlog before. I did that one once before a few years ago, so there's a lot less that goes into that planning. I just have to reflect on the things that worked well and then kind of figure out where certain dates fit in. And then the next project that I'm going to be doing during the third quarter is one that I have not done with students before, so there's going to be more extensive planning in there. So one thing I wanted to mention was when I'm planning a new project, I like to use these principles that High Tech High has on their website for design philosophy. And I'll link this website that does a really great job of pointing out these different elements of project design that comes with resources and videos and explanations. So we kind of keep those in a modular planner where we can think about, here's an example of it, where we can think about these different elements as we're brainstorming and working out a project. So with the $10 challenge, I've just kind of looked at these parameters. I've put it in different phases, and we start with a calendar where you're actually this is the first quarter calendar where you're kind of looking through. I like to take a physical paper calendar and kind of mark where dates are going to be and when are we going to do what sort of things. And then so for my students, when they look at their parameters of what's going to be expected of them for the project after we launch, I have things like the dates that are the key dates are lined out so they can see when is what due, what are these different pieces, when are these different things happening. So this is the bulk of it. When you've already done a project before, you reflect on what sort of things do I need to do, and then where is it going to fit into what parts? How can I leave more room or plan for different pitfalls and things like that. So I already kind of have this pretty roughed out based on what's going to be taking place for this project. There's also different philosophies of project design where it's my opinion that there's not any one right way of doing this. The two different versions of two different choices that I want to talk about. One is starting with the project versus starting with the standards. So you could start with the standards and then ask yourself, okay, if I need to teach these things, how am I going to do that in a way that's engaging and meaningful and useful for students? The other way is there's this really cool, awesome thing that I know if students do this, it's going to be engaging and exciting. And how can I then look into the standards and find ways to teach the standards through doing that thing? So with the $10 challenge, I started with standards, and I came up with essential questions like how can students use their writing to improve their community? And I came up with the idea of giving them $10 and challenging them to use that to improve their community and then give a speech which they have to write out in order to persuade people that their use was the best one. With this other project, the one that I'm going to be doing third quarter, this is the opposite. I am starting with the project itself. I know there's a product that I want my students to produce, and then if I can get them to do that, they're going to be engaged and they're going to learn different unique skills they wouldn't do otherwise. It wouldn't be something they traditionally do in English class, and then from there I can find ways to make the English standards fit. So the other thing is tight construction and loose construction of parameters. So a project might have more latitude for students to branch out, which is the case in the $10 challenge, where there are only two rules with the $10 challenge, and that is that you cannot use your own money or property to add to that, and you cannot break the law. So students have a large latitude of ways that they can take that, and I recommend having a little bit more experience with project-based learning before you give that kind of latitude to students so that you are more prepared for how to rein things in and how to direct them and help students with that amount of freedom that they're probably not used to. And then there are projects where you could have more tighter constraints that are more organized and that you can help do more planning and things ahead of time. the thing that you have to make sure is that there's still room and elements for ideation and student voice and choice. So the project that we're going to be doing third quarter is going to be tighter in terms of its construction and like when is what going to happen or what parts are we going to do. And I'm going to be giving them room in other areas to expand on that. So I think next week I'll talk more about what we're going to be doing third quarter, but those are different options that you can think of when you are designing a project. Do I want to have, do I want to start with the standards and then find ways that are interesting and engaging to develop those? Or do I want to start with the product or the project that I know if I can get kids to do this? I really think that you can look at any area in the in these sections, and you could start with anything if you know that maybe you just have an essential question, for example, and you can build a project out of that. Or maybe you know what exhibition is going to look like. I just know that if I can get my kids to have this exhibition experience, it's going to be exciting and engaging, and they're going to buy into the lessons that I teach. You could also start with a project launch. Like, man, if I could take my kids to have this experience or go see this thing or go do this thing or hear from this person, that would get them pumped up about doing something. And then I don't know what the project's going to be, but I know I want to start with that. I really believe you can start with pretty much any one of these elements if you have an idea of this would be a great experience for students, and then build out the project from there. So that's where I am with the $10 challenge. I'm feeling pretty good about where my dates are for who's going to be doing what when. But third quarter is going to be a different animal because I have not done this project with students before, and we'll talk more about that next week.